Welcome everyone. Buongiorno. Namaskar. My name is Marged Trumper and I am an Indologist and a scholar of Indian classical music. And I am here to introduce to you a video interview that was conducted by my students of the course of field research methodology that I held this year at the Music Conservatory of Vicenza for the Department of Indian Classical Music. And this conservatory is actually the only one in Italy offering an academic course in Indian classical music, and it's only the second one in Europe. This interview has been conducted by my students, and it's an interview to renowned classical singer Vidushi Sunanda Sharma ji, who is also my guru, my teacher, and a very talented, extremely versatile artist, presently a torchbearer of the Benares school of singing, bringing forward the legacy of her legendary guru, Padmavibhushan Girija Devi ji. So she was kind enough to share her time, her knowledge, and her art with us in this interview. And due to the present situation, of course, we were not able to arrange an in-person interview. So my students are conducting this interview through an online platform. Nonetheless, this project has been very rewarding. So we hope you will enjoy this interview as well. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to introduce you to Sunanda ji, and then you can start your interview. So as you know, I have told you that Sunanda Sharma ji is my Guruji, and she is one of the main disciples of Girija Devi ji, of the Benares gharana. And she is a specialist in khayal, tumri, tappa, and all the genres of the Benares gharana. And my students here, they are learning field research methodology from me. So one student is Michaela. Michaela is a vocal student. She's learning Hindustani vocal. And then we have Ilaria. Ilaria is a Bansuri student.
So we have Michaela, we have Ilaria.
Yes. And then Christian. Christian is a tabla student.
Okay.
Namaskar, Sunanda ji. Okay. Thank you for your time, for sharing with us your experience. So we start with the first question. That is, can you please tell us how you did start your music training?
I was born in Himachal, and I was born into a family of musicians. My father, he used to play violin, classical music. So I grew up listening to his violin, classical ragas. So while playing, I just started learning compositions of khayal, and sometimes I used to sing folk music. So it started like this. In India, we say khel khel mein, like children, the way they play with the toys. I started just playing with the compositions. Whenever I made my father happy with any kind of composition of khayal or something else, and he was so happy, and I used to get prize for that. So it was a game in the beginning for me. It started like this. I started from home, from my father, Pandit Sudarshan Sharma, my father.
And how did you meet Girija Devi and thus become her student?
I was born in Himachal, and I used to go to different Indian classical concerts with my father, holding his finger. So whenever I heard any musician who was from Benares, it made a big difference for me. I was very, very much fascinated towards that music. Maybe the reason was because in Banaras Gharana, classical and semi-classical, all the genre are practiced uh, in the same way. Like there's such a big variety of music, of musical styles of Indian classical music in Banaras Gharana that put a very special impact on my little heart when I was a little girl. So, and I was listening to the stories from my grandparents that Kashi is another name for Banaras. So Kashi is the main center of knowledge. So I used to think one day I will go to Kashi, but I didn't know how. But I was just having this vision in my mind, and I used to imagine that one day I will go to Kashi. And I didn't know anyway. And gradually, I started performing as well. And after doing my graduation, then I was invited for a concert at Jalandhar Harivallabh Sangeet Sammelan, and I was invited there to sing for a competition. So it's a very big music Sangeet Sabha of North India. And I sang in the morning, and the organizer asked me to play Tanpura when Srimati Girija Devi ji, Appaji, we call her Appaji, she was going to perform. So I just went to meet her in her hotel room, and there I met her. And she asked me, "Do you sing?" I said, "Yeah, I do sing. I sang in the morning." She asked me, "What did you sing?" I said, "I sang Rag Ahir Bhairav." She asked me to sing a few lines, and I sang those lines. And she said, "Would you be interested to learn from me?" And that was the dream come true for me, because I always wanted to go to Kashi. I always wanted to learn Banaras.
So was
Gharana.
Girija Devi to ask you to become her student?
Yeah, that was a big blessing for me. I still remember those moments, and it gives me goosebumps all the time whenever I think about those moments. Then she announced in front of the audiences that before a concert that I'm going to take this girl to Benares with me to train her. That's how it began. Then I went to Benares after a few months.
How many years did you spend with her in learning? From that
it was it was a complete 9 years. Because it was shifting. It was also a big shifting from one gharana to another gharana. Gharana means school of singing. So I was trained in a different kind of voice culture. My father was teaching me, and he was an instrumentalist. And I also was practicing Punjab style, Patiala style. And when I went to Appaji, it was Benares School of Singing. Then I had to surrender to her, and I felt like doing that. I surrendered to her because she asked me to start Benares Gharana Talim, Benares Gharana Shiksha from ABC. So it was just 3 years completely. I was at home at my Guruji's place and practicing the beginning alankars of Benares Gharana style, and that's how it started. And it was 9 years. So once in a year, I used to come to my parents' place, and otherwise, I was just
learning with her.
Learning with her, cooking for her, and traveling with her. After 3 years, I started performing as well, solo concerts, and she allowed me to sing then. When she found that now I'm ready with Benares style, I can perform, then I started singing. And my first concert was after going to her, after 3 years at a very big musical festival, which is in Gwalior, Tansin Sangeet Samaroh. So I performed there in 1993. Then my solo concerts started. And I also was accompanying her, giving her vocal support in India and abroad, everywhere. And complete 9 years, I was just experiencing this place.
Yes. Um, our
I like your acha. I like your acha.
Our third question is, what are the main features of the Benares gharana?
You know, I can explain this technically, but one really needs to experience to express the specific features of any gharana. But the main thing is, first thing is genres, different styles of music which are practiced in Benares style. Mainly Dhrupad, Khayal, Tumri, Tappa, Kajri, Chaiti, Hori. These are so many different styles which are taught and learned and practiced and performed in Benares Gharana style. The biggest thing in Benares Gharana is Shastra and Bhav. Shastra means the music which has been written for years and years, and the Benares musicians are following and practicing that, and which are rules and technicality of Benares, and Bhav, the emotional side of music. So it's not only the technical knowledge, but it's also bhava, the rasa. So Shastra and rasa both go together. That is main emphasis in Banaras Gharana style. Especially when I talk about Thumri. In Thumri, you need to have a knowledge of the rag, and after that, you need to have a good command over language, literature, and after that you should be able to get into the depth of the words and depth of the raga and connect both, and only then whatever emotion is depicted by the word can be depicted by the note. So when the notes are practiced in the guidance of words, so words and notes, they become one, and then good tumri happens. So emotions, power, like if there is one tumri, तेरी अखियाँ रसीली तोरी शाम. Oh Krishna, your eyes are so beautiful. So it's in Rag Tilang. So I can't just keep practicing. This is Rag Tilang. But now I have to think about the words also. Akhiyan, your eyes are so beautiful. Sham, I have to address Sham. Akhiyan rasile tori sham. Sham akhiyan rasile tori sham. Sham.
Yes, it's changed a lot. Yes, beautiful.
So it's not only raga, gama pani, ma pani. So you can't keep doing all that. You have to think about the words, and you have to be really poetic and very spontaneous. That you have to be really poetic, so that you can create every moment. So that's one of the very special features of Benares Gharana.
Namaskar, Sunanda ji. I have other questions for you. Can you please speak a little bit about the different approach to the same raga in Khayal and Thumri, please?
Indian classical music is based on raga system. We call it rag. It's based on rag, and there are so many different genres like Dhrupad, which are in vogue. Dhrupad, Khayal, Thumri, Tappa, and so many others. Same rag becomes different when we perform same rag in any specific genre. So, especially when we do Khayal, it has to be in the boundaries of Khayal. It has to be in the nature of Khayal, because in Khayal we have Bada Khayal and Chota Khayal. Bada Khayal is a Vilambit, we call it Vilambit, it's a slower one. And then we have a shorter version of same raga that is called Chota Khyal, which is in same rag. And while doing Khyal, we do alap in the beginning, and then we take the composition, and after that we adorn the composition with different beautifications like we do sargams, we do tans, and we take the bowls in the alap in a very different way. I will like to show you that. In Khayal, when we do alap, just giving small glimpses. So this is alap. But when we do alap in Tumri, in same rag, Bihar, so it gives different mood from the beginning, in spite of having same notes. The approach is little different, and when we do the khayal, प्यारी प्यारी अखियाँ राधे की सखी, प्यारी प्यारी अखियाँ राधे की सखी, मोहलियो मन मोहन की सखी, प्यारी प्यारी अखियाँ राधे. So, or we do sargam. Samaga pa ma pa ma pa ga ma ga pa ma ga ma pa ni sa ni da pa ma pa ga ma ga re sa, pyari pyari yakhiyan, then tan. Pyari pyari yakhiyan. And the tal, it's going usually teen tal, and but when we do it jhap tal or rupak, but when we do tumri, the tals are different for tumri from khayal. Like we do in jat tal, sometimes in deep chandi, and the approach, it becomes like this. Now, when we do tumri in same rag, first we think about rag, and then we think about the words. Words are हमसे नजरिया काहे फेरी रे बालम. So Radha is saying to Krishna, why have you forgot us? So I have to think about the words also when I perform Bihag in a Tumri style. हमसे नजरिया काहे फेरी हो बालमा, हमसे नजरिया काहे फेरी दे बालमा, हमसे नजरिया. Why aren't you looking at us, Krishna? Najariya kahe peri. Why are you not looking at us? Humse नजरिया काहे काहे फेरी रे ओ बालामा हमसे नजरिया काहे फेरी ओ बालमा. So we can't do Samaga Papa Gamareza, not in Tumri. Not in Tumri. This is done only in Khayal. So there are certain things which are meant to do when we do Khayal, and there are certain things we don't use in Tumri. In Tumri, it's mainly Rag and Bhav, Ras, the mood of the poetry. It comes together.
Can you tell us about your training in other musical styles like Tappa, for example?
The place where I was born, I used to sing folk music also. I didn't perform that much, but I used to listen a lot. So Tappa is a folk style of northern India, the state Punjab. So it's this group, like this folk music is performed or sung in a group by the ladies, or sometimes gents also sing, but it's like, it goes like this. So you can see the difference, the approach to the notes.
Yes.
दो जुल्फां छल्ले ओ छल्ले हाय दो जुल्फां छल्ले ओ छल्ले हाय हाँ सारा जग सोना है हाय सारा जग सोना है मेरे माये तो थल्ले ओ थल्ले हाय मेरे माये तो थल्ले ओ थल्ले. So this is folk music, and from this folk music, Shori Mian, Gulab Nabi Shori Mian, in 16th century, he took these tunes, folk tunes, and these tunes are sung mainly in Punjabi language. And he also added some Persian words and Urdu words to this style, and new style came up, that is Tappa. And this style is a very rare style, and in India there are very few musicians, few vocalists who sing this style. My Guruji was one among them, and she was really known for singing beautiful tappas. So then the tappa, folk tappa, became like this. न जा मरा मैं ना जा बला लूं कभी हमारी सिख मान ले वे न जा मरा मैं ना जा वे ना जा वे न जा मरा मैं ना जा वे ना जा मरा मैं ना जा ना जावे वे न जा मरा मैं ना जा बला दूं कदी हमारी सिख मान ले न जा मरा मैं ना जा. So this is really a difficult style because you need to have long breath, and your voice should be, we call it tayyar. Really, you have to master your tams, you have to master your notes in Khayal style, and after that only you can learn tappa. And I learned so many tappas from my guru, and I feel very happy when I sing this style, because I was born here and I got to learn this in Benares from my guru ma.
So tappa comes after.
After Khayal, yeah.
Yeah.
If you don't know rag, if you're not trained like like this is sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da pa ma ga re sa re ga ma pa da ni da ni sa ni da ni da pa ma pa ma ga re sa. You have to do this riyaz. Then so this practice is done to sing khayal. So after you are skilled, like you can sing these alankars and tans in really fast manner, only then gurus teach you tappa, because you have to be really fast and quick while singing that.
In your opinion, what is the main difference between a singer who receives training only from other vocalists, singers, and one who is trained also by instrumentalists?
In my opinion, yeah, I think a lot about these issues actually. Initially, I was learning from my father, who was an instrumentalist. He used to sing for me while teaching, but his main command was on violin. So he would play the tans and alap on violin and made me sing. But sometimes he had to give examples with his voice, because he was not a vocalist. So he could not educate me for voice throwing and how to increase your voice range. Only vocalist knows about these things. If you want to sing in 3 octaves, and if you're naturally you're not doing that, and if you want to do that, and only a vocalist can train you for that. Instrumentalist can show you, but if the teacher does himself or herself, then it makes a huge difference. And while doing rag from my father, while learning khayal, when I was learning khayal, and I used to perform also, and when I was sometimes singing in front of my teacher, second teacher, Appaji, and she would say, this tan is instrumental tan. Sometimes the influence of Tantrakari, of instrumental music, was reflecting in my vocal music. And there are certain things which are practiced only in instrumental music mostly, and gaiki is different. The vocal, the sur notes, everything is same. That's fine, but there are things that you can only learn from a vocalist. And also, sometimes I think if a female learns from a female, that's a very good blessing, because your scale is same. I have male students as well, but I teach them from my scale, and they learn from my scale. But the proper training will be, if a male learns from a male, then they know how wide the voice should go, and what the exact volume they should apply to the voice while doing certain things, while doing tans or alap, whatever. So in my opinion, it's a big help if you learn from a vocalist, if your vocalist learns from a vocalist. But again, to add to the excellence, it's also very beneficial, because if a instrumentalist learns from a vocalist, so the good qualities of vocal music come into instrumental to the students. And certain things I learned from my father, who was an instrumentalist, and so many beautiful things I imbibed from him. So your approach is more wide in a way. So it's not like disastrous to learn from an instrumentalist if you are vocalist. It helps a lot. But for certain techniques, one should, if a vocalist is learning from a instrumentalist, for certain techniques, he should or she should definitely go to a vocalist to learn simple techniques. For example, if a sitar player is learning from a flute player, so rag and everything will be fine, but the things which are used in sitar, only a sitar player can teach in a fine and in a best way, about the stroke, about the techniques like jhala, and so it helps. But talim can be taken from anyone. A vocalist can learn from an instrumentalist, and instrumentalist can always learn from a vocalist. But for few techniques, they have to go to the real root.
Namaskar, Sunanda ji.
Namaskar, Christian.
In your opinion, what do you think is the difference in your teaching method when you teach to a Western student with respect to an Indian student?
Very good question. And I really deal with this subject a lot. And this is one of the most interesting things I practice in my music. You know, when I teach an Indian student, I know he or she is quite friendly with the language, and definitely they know what is Sare Gama Padha Nisa. They must have heard this from anywhere, and they know about it. And they know the language, they have heard about the style, they know what is khayal, they know what is tumri, even if they don't practice or even if they don't sing or play. But at least they have some information about that. But when a student from West with great interest comes to me, it makes me very happy in the beginning, because this connection, you know, if Indian music is touching the hearts of a Westerner, I really feel very touched with this thought of connectivity. That look at music, what kind of strength music has, that there's no bar of language, there's no bar of country, there's no bar of anything. It's just heart to heart, soul to soul. If something is impressing your soul, it's the biggest thing. So first thing, it makes me happy, and then I get ready with the preparations. First, I always try to listen to his or her music from the place he or she belongs to. Then after listening to that, then I try to find the place of Indian music in her voice or in her instrument. And I can't be that strict to a Western student as I can be to an Indian student, because strictness here means that I know they don't have that much time, because I have students in Western countries, Italy. Margaret is a very beautiful example of that. And in London, I have some French students as well, and they learn from me, and they really take out some time. They come to India, spend some time with me. They spend months and months sometimes here in India and learn from me. And then I have to think about the time, first of all. That because when I went to learn music from my teacher, I was there for years and years. And here also, the students who live in same city, they can pursue music, like they can learn for years and years. They have time. But if someone is coming from Australia, someone is coming from France or Italy, I know they have very limited time, and I have to give the best in this period to her. So, but the best thing I like in Western students, they are so focused. Like if they want to do something, they do it really, really very nicely and very deeply, and they, and single-mindedly they do it. So main difference is only the time, otherwise, and language. I find it very interesting. Italian students, they're quite good in Hindi. Like they can pronounce pa, dha, ni, sa. There's no pa, cha. They're very clear in dha. They can do it. So it's really good. So language, first I have to see the uchcharan pronunciation and the teaching of rag. And whosoever comes to learn Indian classical music, definitely first they listen to Indian music, then they get inspired, then only they come to learn. So it's not that they are blank. So they have their own history of their own music and in Indian music as well. But then I have to think about the time period, that I can't be testing them that if you learn this only one composition in 1 year, then after that only I will be starting the second one. I can't do this with Western students, and this is very practical thing, and I think they are doing pretty well. This is the main difference. But sometimes I think the shortage of time, sometimes it gives them another kind of fire, that they know that I have to do this certain things in this only specific period, otherwise then I have to go back to my country. And yeah, they are more very deeply they do it, and the teaching approach is always same when I teach to any student, even if he's from India or from any other country. It only depends on the soul or on the student, how much they want to learn it. So that's it.
So what do you think about the music training in the academic institutions? And in your opinion, what are the main differences between institutional and traditional training? We are specifically referring to Guru Shishya Parampara with respect to the training in the academic institutions.
It's a very big thing that music is taken as subject in the schools and in the colleges and the universities. It's a very, very big thing. In India also, when Pandit Bhatkandeji, Pandit Vishnu Digambar Puluskar, those great saints of Indian classical music, they introduced music to the schools, to the institutions. It was very good for prachar. It was introduced to the masses. Every student was getting exposure towards this. Now the question comes, the training. In school, in colleges, in any other institutions, there are so many students in the groups and they have limited time. Again, this question of time, because Indian classical music, it comes with life, and it's there's a certain period you have to dedicate to this music, because the raga system, it really needs time to sink inside you, and the tal, there's different tal system in Indian classical music, and to understand, to practice that, then to perform that, and then again in the guidance of Guru, it takes some years, it takes some time. But in institutions, there is a course, special course for a certain period, and it's hardly they can produce some artists, because there's limitation of time, and they are looking, the students who are learning, they are also looking for job. But when we talk about Guru Shishya Parampara, most of us, we never think about a job. We just go to learn Sacha Sur, a real note, from a teacher, from Guru. Then we try to imbibe the tradition. It takes really time, a long time, and with true surrender, you can learn from your teacher. You have to be really truthful to your teacher. You have to really win the heart of your teacher with your real things, and with the blessings of teacher, you learn a lot, because then the positivity from which comes from Guru, that also adds to the technical things, to the technical training. And while spending time with Guru in Guru Shishya Parampara, it's not only music. You watch, you see everything your guru is practicing. For instance, when I was with my guru, and when she was doing her performances, I was accompanying her for vocal support. I used to see how she was getting prepared for the concert. And even if sometimes she was not well, but before going on stage, what was she doing that she was absolutely all right while singing on stage? So these things you can't teach in 1 hour's time. So I will like to add that was if you meditate, if you connect to yourself, so definitely you become still and you can perform the way you want to. And you can think about blessings of your gurus, your blessings of God, and that positivity helps you a lot. And you come that state of mind. You come into that state of mind, and definitely you give your best. So it's not only the books or the technical knowledge. So many other things. Like when I sing a composition, it's not when I perform a composition, I don't only perform the composition, I just go back to the moments when my teacher was sitting in her room and I was learning that, and I remember all the stories which she was telling me after or before teaching that composition. And sometimes she loved me for singing beautifully. Sometimes she said, "No, but this is not nice. You have to practice more." So then you remember each and everything of your teacher. So certainly, Guru Shishya Parampara is the best way to imbibe the traditional music. This is my own opinion, and I really believe in this because in Parampara, in tradition, it's not only music, you get so much in one thing, in that path.
How did you develop, how did you personally develop the music knowledge that you received from the tradition during your whole life and actual career?
After learning from my teacher, after 7 years of my training, there's a ceremony in Benares which is called ganda, bandhan. That is like the teacher, when a teacher thinks that now the student has performed in front of big audiences and have performed in big music festivals in India, and after that, teacher introduces his or her student to the other big personalities of music. So in Benares, when Appaji thought that now I should do Ganda Bandhan of Sunanda, then it was after 7 years of my training from her, and then she made me sing in front of so many big musicians of Benares. And after that, the meaning, the gist of that ceremony is that now Guru is saying, now you take over. Now you are free to teach, you are free to perform anything. Before that, there's a restriction. Unless Guru thinks that a student is really prepared to perform, they don't permit you, and because of the purity of the tradition. And after that, I got that permission, and then I thought that whatever I have learned from my teacher, now I should sit down alone. And I wanted to sit down alone for some years. So I came to my parents' place. Then after that, after Ganda Bandhan, 2 years more, I was with my guru. And after 9 years, I came to my parents' place back in Himachal. And I was here with my parents. Then I thought, no, I need to be alone for some time to think about the training I've taken from my teacher. I have to practice this alone, making mistakes alone, making my own creativities. So then I went to Delhi, and I started living in Delhi. And before I got married, at 10 years, I was in Delhi, and I was practicing all the ragas which I learned from my teacher, all the styles which I learned from my Appaji, from my Guruji. I started practicing on my own with tabla. Then I started performing on my own. And then I would go back to Guruji after 3-4 months. Then I would sing in front of her. Then she would smile and say, "Okay, so now you think this way musically." And she was very happy with this. That now independently she is doing some things which she is thinking. She is creating herself. So it was like the Guru Shishya Parampara also teaches that it's not just imitating your Guru all the time. It's not like that. Guru shows you the path. You have to walk on that path. And after that, to develop my music, I wanted to be alone for some time to explore the music which I learned from my teacher alone. So I made this choice, and I was alone and practicing and performing this music. And again with the guidance of my Guru, because whatever I was doing new, I went to my Guru to show to her, and she would say, okay, so interesting. And sometimes she would guide me, if you do like this, this will be a very good thing. And she also always said that it's not that you should copy me, you should copy my voice, you should copy my, no, never do that. You have your own character, you have your own thinking. So I took some time, and I was just with the music, and I was into the music for years and years, doing nothing, just exploring again whatever I learned from Guruji. And then I was performing also with that. And there are some elements which also come from Punjab, where I was born, Himachal, Punjab, this area. And while singing tappa, I also try to add new terms, which I'm reminded by the folk music of Punjab. So these are the things, and nature is inspiring me each and every moment. And these are the things that I always think about my Guru, her path. Then I think about my personality, what I feel inside, and I do that. And then the music comes that you follow. So this is not only with me, I think every artist. It's learning and then unlearn kind of thing. But for unlearning, learning is most important first. You have to be really very strict, and in discipline you have to be there. When teacher is teaching something, you have to be really there with full surrender. And then when your teacher says that you're excellent in that, then when your teacher says, and when people also say that yes, then listen to your heart. Sometimes unlearning starts then.
I actually wanted to ask one more question to Sunanda ji as we're here. And so I think it would be interesting to add this to our interview about your experience with Western musicians, especially after getting married and traveling to the West and spending some time playing with Western musicians. What did this add to your music?
I got married in 2009 to an Indian who was born and brought up in Norway. So when I traveled to Norway, I came from a very orthodox, conservative school of singing, like Benares gharana, and I was day and night. I was practicing Benares gharana, and when I went to Norway, then my husband, my family, and the musicians, they approached me and they asked me to sing some Norwegian music with them. And I was really very angry with this with this question, because I was thinking that this will spoil my purity, because I was so much into my Benares style of music. I was so much into that. So I was really angry with them. But after a while, then there is a musician. My husband, Dr. Jaishankar, he is a very well-known tabla player in Norway. He was also persuading me, but I was not really ready for it. There is a musician called Tridwe Sain. He's a saxophonist and a very good musician, a very good friend of family friend. And he's such a beautiful musician. And he asked, once we met, he came home. He said, Sunanda, why don't you sing for us in our concert? I said, okay, but I don't feel like singing this. He said, no, listen, like people are people. In Norway, people want to listen to you, and we can't have long classical concerts here. So why don't you try? If you don't like it, then never do it again. So he asked me to. He showed me one song. So that was when he sang. Vistalisce sua put sumernata uer falius de las calvi vandrai samanute unde dilao tungete unde dilao tungete. I said, well, it's sounding like Dimpalasi. And that was like my child was very happy inside. I said, okay, it sounds like that. Then he said, why don't you sing this in your own style? And I said, Vi Kalishe Sovabut Sumarnata Uer Folius Tilde Das Kalvi Vandrai Samanute Unde Dilo Tungete Unde Dilo Tungete. So when I sang this in front of audience, and they were like, oh, applause, and they were so happy, big clapping, and they stood up because the song was with a new approach. Then I was thinking, oh, why they became so happy? So because I was so reluctant before singing that, and Trigwe sang, he was so happy. He said, look, people are so happy. So I said, yes, I should come out of this any kind of complex. Music is music, good music is good music, and audience is audience. People are people. So then I started singing with them, and I learned a lot from them, from Trigwe sang, and there's some other musicians as well. Ferodva is a very good drummer, and they're so musical. Max, he plays bass, and Hova. Yes, beautiful musicians, and they're jazz musicians. I really love the approach, their approach towards music. We are very serious when we do Indian classical music, and I was seeing that they are so happy and enjoying, and all of a sudden with the saxophone he will come on stage and play, and amazing. And I said, wow, this is a new approach to music. So everywhere you learn, everywhere. So I learned a lot from them, and now they are my best friends. So I don't find any difference when I talk to them. Like, they're so close. I find them so close. So true to music. They're so true to music. And they also came to India and performed with me once. I haven't done much in India, but every year I go to Norway twice a year and perform with them. And I really look forward to that. Different kind of audience, different kind of approach. It gives me freshness.
What about this? Whatever you told me also made me think about you performing Indian classical for the Western audience. How do you feel? What's the difference when you perform for the Indian audience and the Western audience? And I'm specifically referring to classical music.
Yeah. In India, when I perform, I know they know this music. So I don't need to explain everything. I don't need to translate everything. Like, Uthate Jiya Hoop. They know. My heart is paining. If I translation doesn't give you 100% sometimes. But the asar of note can give you 100% all the time. If you give 100% in your sur, definitely it will hit the heart of the audience, whether it's Indian or Western audience. I feel very happy performing in front of Western audience because there's a pin drop silence when they sit. They're so curious. They never talk to each other. There's pin drop silence, and they just sit there, and they never they never get up and go and walk during the concert. Sometimes this happens in India, sometimes. But this gives you another kind of concentration, that they're sitting, they're relaxed, they have come for 1 hour, they have come for 2 hours, and they will sit there. That's it. With their still mind. So I really love performing in front of them. And when I love to explain each and every piece I perform in front of them, and they get connected. And you have been traveling with me for concerts, and you know how it becomes. I don't find any difference of being an Italian or Indian when music takes over. So I just want to be true to my music, and I want to 100%. I just try to transfer. Like I know this, and I try to make them understand whatever I know. Especially in vocal music, the words. I like to give them a picture. Like this is happening. Girl is sitting, and the hero is across the river, and she's singing to the hero, and river is there. So there is a picture in mind. Cuckoo bird is singing Pia Pia. So Pia is the hero, Krishna. So it gives definitely chitratmakta, a picture, and they listen so beautifully, and it gives you another. It gives me another kind of sight to looking at my music when I perform in front of them. I know that they don't know about Khayal. They don't. Sometimes they know in some cities. Sometimes they don't know. It's like a real test, and it's like a real adventure, and it's a real beautiful thing happening. Let's see. Then when music takes over, everything is fine. I have a question.
Yes.
So Margaret, you have been learning from me, and you are from Italy, yeah. So one thing that inspired you to learn Indian classical music. Tell me.
From you or in general?
Okay, first in general, then from me. It's been years now with me, so both we have to. Yeah.
Okay, in general, it was both my interest in music in general. Like I've always been, my main passion was singing. So singing and poetry also. Languages, poetry, and singing, that were my main passions since childhood. And then when I got to know about Indian culture through my studies especially, then it was natural for me to know more about the music. It was, yes, I wanted to know more. I wanted to know everything about Indian culture. And music was one of, the things. Actually, I wanted to understand more, because for me, if I had to think to learn Indian music, it would be like something like a big endeavor, because you can't like listen to this music and say, okay, I'm going to learn it. It was, I want to understand it. And Indian music, you can't understand properly. Don't go and learn a little bit at least. So that was, I think, the reason why I started. And from you, it was actually after my interest in Tumri, which was quite early, because I was learning poetry, Hindi and poetry, and I was listening to different kinds of Indian vocal music, especially instrumental music as well, but like vocal music was my curiosity. I wanted to like understand the words and the poetry. So I found that just by listening to like Tumri singers, it was very inspiring for me. So I wanted to learn something about Tumri, And it was very difficult at the time to find some kind of training in Tumri. And I found out about London AMC. Of course, I knew about Appaji. I was listening to Appaji. I had been to Benares, but it was not possible in the West to learn Tumri. So I came to London and met you, and then rest is history. Rest, you know.
So you just wanted to then pursue this after that?
Yes, Tumri is, especially Banarsi Tumri. I was listening to different styles of Tumri, but Banarsi Tumri was my main attraction. I was drawn to it because I think of the lyrics and the way the voice was depicting the lyrics and all.
So yeah, it's a good thing I asked you this question, because for your students now, it's a good thing to know. They know already. Good things to be reminded of. That doesn't matter if you belong to any specific country. It's just if something hits you inside, it could be from any country, or any tradition. So then you're just stuck there. You just want to do more and more and more. Nice meeting you all. Nice meeting you all.
Thank you so much, Sunanda ji.
You're welcome. Yeah.
Really enjoyed.
Okay. Take care.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks.
Namaskar.
Thank you very much,
Namaskar.
Sunanda ji. Thank you.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar. Namaskar. Namaskar.